there's no panacea for it. There's no,
Mhm.
okay, you do this, you tinker with that, you do that, and it's going to,
Mhm.
poof, everything is going to work. And I think we are too much of a fast food society. We want everything to happen right now, yesterday, last week.
Welcome to the Your Message Received podcast. And now, taking your message to the finish line, your host, John Duffin.
Hey folks, John Duffin here with Duffin Media. Welcome back to another episode of Your Message Received. Your Message Received is the home, the place, the platform to help you find your best, most true, authentic business voice. Well, maybe just your most true, authentic voice. Get what you want, find what you need, improve your results. Make things happen in your life and in the lives of other people that are around you. That's our whole point of the show. And we get to do so by bringing people on who walk the walk. I think the reason that we get to keep getting more viewers, subscribers, followers, listeners is that we bring people on that actually understand their own arc to authenticity and come from a place where they can help people. And that, to me, is the name of the game. So we've got someone, Corine LaFont, who is on the show with us today. Before I continue the introduction, I won't leave you hanging out there, Corine. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Not hanging at all. Actually, love hearing you speak. Thank you so much. Great to be here.
You're very kind, and I'm very flattered. So Corine happens to be a communications specialist, a podcaster like us, a publisher, and someone, you just said you love hearing me speak, soul, an islander, and that sort of a rhythm accent does it for me. So being born and raised in the island of Trinidad and Tobago, and I hope I got that part properly pronounced.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you so much for respecting that.
Listen, you got it. But by the way, folks, here's somebody who's a real detail person, and I mean Corine, because she's the one that literally put in her own bio, Tobago, and I'm going to mispronounce it on purpose, Tobago, and then it says pronounced Tobago. So therefore, she respects it even more. I'm so glad you were here. You help people communicate. You've got systems and blueprints, and you host a podcast like we talked about. What got you interested in helping other people to communicate?
I have a couple of irks. So, for example, let me tell you.
Yeah, please.
I'm single, right? I'm single. Okay. Let me just put that out there. I'm single, people.
Okay.
And so when a guy is approaching me and he reaches out to me, let's say via text, and he writes to me and he says, "Your," whatever, and he puts YOUR when it's supposed to be YOU apostrophe RE, immediately he eliminates himself. Okay? I'm tempted to correct him and say something about it. I think I've done it 1 or 2 times with a few guys, and it didn't really turn out too well as I anticipated. I saw it as, I'm helping you, They saw it as a touch to their ego, and they attacked me instead and started to say, I need to get with the times. This is how people speak. Okay, this is the language, and I need to get with the times. And I said to myself, after years of studying, having a degree, a master's, etc., the money that was spent and invested, the time, the studies, the exams, the sleepless nights, I really don't think that at this point in my mature life, I need to go to a place, I wouldn't even say back, but to a place.
Maybe a place I've never been.
Right? Because I wasn't even there. I was never there. So go to a place that is kind of taking me not in an elevated space that matches who I am.
Right.
And so I decided that I am not going to meet people down there, wherever they are. I consider that down there, and I'm not saying it to belittle or make anybody feel less. I'm just saying it's not my standard. And it's one of my irks. So in communication for me, Just saying. I'm just saying. If a guy like you, John, decided you want to approach me, please make sure
that I use the apostrophe.
Please, you punctuate and you use the correct language.
I like the fact that you say that a place that you've never been or you wouldn't necessarily want to go. You have done, I mean, it's not that you've concentrated in one place. So you were born in Trinidad and Tobago. And what was it like living there? Because I've never been.
Let's stop this podcast right now. Let's stop this podcast, get on a flight, and we could sort that out right now. Let's not wait.
Why? What is it that I've been in the Caribbean, not there? What would draw someone to it? What does it for you?
Well, what I have heard, because I don't want to toot my own horn, but what I have heard is we are like a melting pot. That is how we are described. We are a melting pot. So if you want to see different colors, shapes, size, mixture of ethnicity, this is where you will find it. We are the most mixed people. You will see somebody looking a particular way. You might think that person is meant to be fully 100% Black or whatever, but they are not. So that has happened to me, even when I lived in Jamaica, because I lived in Jamaica for 21 years.
Sure.
Yeah. And when I was there, I got a lot of looks. Not that you don't see people, but I guess the way I looked was different. And then when they saw me coming up to them from a distance, they saw the color of my skin, which is familiar to Jamaicans. But then they looked at my hair and it just did not match my skin. And so they couldn't understand what I was or what I am. You know, I still don't know what I am because I look at my own mother and I'm like, what are you?
And what does she say?
I haven't gotten an answer.
Gotcha.
I just see her and I just know, you know, you're my mother, right? I'm going to go with it. So it's a lot of mixed blood. But when you come to Trinidad, you will see Chinese and Indian mixed blood. Whites and we are not pure in anything. Nobody that you will look at and see is pure. Plus, our social is off the chain. We worry about nothing. Nothing. Once there is food, there's a phrase that we use, liming. Once there's food and drink, you're good. Life is fabulous. There's nothing that could go wrong. And you could never be without food in Trinidad. There's somebody's house that you can go to and you will get food. There's no way you could go hungry in Trinidad. And we just have a sort of culture we just go with the flow. When other people may worry about things or stress about things, we don't. And then we just finished Carnival the other day, you know, earlier in March. And so people are on the streets living it up and dressing how they want and just all the tension, all the stress you would have caused them, John, at work, they're releasing that on the streets. So
that sounds like so that sounds like a great reason to be there, especially the releasing tension part. Talk to me about it. You just said before we get to like the Jamaica part, I want to know this, which is that as you had said, you invested a lot of time and money in terms of your degrees and those sorts of things. Were you always interested in terms of language and or communications and or that sort of thing, or did you evolve to that point?
Evolved.
Gotcha.
I evolved and I was led there. I'm a creative person, so I used to teach art in school, painting and drawing.
Okay, great.
I entered competitions in terms of, you know, winning competitions for art. My students also did as well. I sold artwork in galleries. I'm a dancer. I'm a Latin and ballroom dancer. I'm a very good writer. I'm very good when it comes to words. Don't try to get me with the maths now. 1 and 1 sometimes is 11 for me, you know. So don't go there with me with the maths. So anything to do with accounts and numbers, don't come to me. Don't trust me with it. Okay. You know, I could make sense of it and ask the particular questions from a strategic standpoint, but don't ask me to sit with numbers. But words, yep, you could get me with the words and the letters. I am able to cut you with words and you wouldn't even know that you're being cut. And I can be so sweet with words.
I love it. So I want to know, what got you to Jamaica?
A man.
Great.
Thanks.
Great. So you're there. How long were you there?
21 years of my life. I came back home to Trinidad in 2017.
All right. So terrible question, but I'll ask it, which is...
Ask it.
So you went there because of a man.
Mm-hmm.
Did the man stay in Jamaica, or did you?
Yes.
Okay.
I went there because of a man, and I left there because of the same man.
The same guy?
Yes. Okay. I left there because of the same man. So what got me there is what made me leave.
There you go. Efficient. As you said, you're very efficient in that regard.
Extremely.
Right?
Extremely. Mm-hmm.
What was it like coming back? And after 21 years away, what was it like coming back?
Hard. It was hard. It was starting over my life that's supposed to begin as an adult, having to go back to the family home, because when you're starting over, coming out of a relationship, you don't, and especially you have lost kind of connections. Everybody you left was like a child. So you didn't have any connections, and you're really starting over. So it was really a relearning experience, but not really from scratch, and it was a very humbling, again, experience, especially coming back to the family home as an adult and having children too. But my children are grown,
Okay.
So it's not like little babies or anything I was carrying with me, but it's a humbling. But the point about that was, it's familiar territory. It's not like it's new territory that I had to learn or understand. It's familiar territory. My family, my blood, they are here. I don't know if I would say friends, but school friends that I remembered. Some of them I haven't seen.
Okay.
So there was familiarity. It wasn't like ground zero having to learn again, and in terms of jobs, it was challenging, and it still is, all whatever I get, all opportunities I get is always outside of Trinidad. I think my experience of living outside and traveling around, to the US, to Europe, to wherever, within the region, it expanded me, and I'm thankful for that. And because of that, it's kind of hard when people look at my resume and they see the expanse of my CV to be able to fit into the climate here. They might feel threatened, intimidated, that type of thing. And
So you're back. When did you think it would make sense for you to lean in to your creativity, as it regards to communications? Like, so now you're back, and I don't mean to rush through that part, but I mean, now it's like, okay, so you have to rebuild your life. And so as you are a communication specialist, you've, podcaster, you've created, like, what were your thoughts in regards to the rebuild? It wasn't completely brand new territory, and there were people in your corner. What did you do to rebuild for you?
Well, the beautiful thing about it, even while I was in Jamaica, I had an online business. I was working online from 2003. With online, people found out about remote during the pandemic in 2020. But I have been doing this all my life, basically, the majority of my life. And so because I had that sort of foundation set while I was still in the relationship, it was easy to I could work anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
Once I have a laptop and Wi-Fi, I'm good to go. It doesn't matter where I operate from. So I had that going for me, my podcast, online business, doing my publishing and things like that. So I was still serving a few clients, still making some money, still feeling good about myself, and just working on me, spending the time, and coming back allowed me the space. And I would say this to anybody, in a relationship that they're looking to get out of. You really need to have the space for yourself, mental space, sometimes physical space. And don't be perturbed. You're not the only one who's going through this. There are many people around the world that is going through some sort of challenge. And don't compare yourself to anyone. Don't think that your challenge is less and their challenge is more. It doesn't matter. A challenge is a challenge. And you're going through it. and it's just for you to come out smiling. When I look back at that, I mean, I'm humbled. I live a very humble life. I've always been a very humble person. And so when things happen for me and to me, I am thankful. I don't see things as good or bad. I just see things as lessons. Whatever happens is for me to learn something, pick up another tool, pick up another skill, and keep it moving. Always keep moving. Never look back. There's nothing there for you. You already know what's behind you.
Yeah.
You need to know what's in front of you, and just keep going. Just keep going.
So were you always a brave person?
Was I always a brave person?
Brave person, yeah.
I think so. There are some things I'm not brave to do. You wouldn't find me jumping out of a plane, for sure.
Me neither. But that
or bungee jumping or one of those kind of extreme
did that
things.
Once.
You did?
Yeah, I did, as a matter of I don't even know how safe or unsafe it was. Yeah, I did it I live in Philadelphia, PA, near New York. And we were on a boardwalk, and I remember my friends and their young kids, and I'm like, oh, I'll do it. And I just did it. And then when you're doing it, it was awful. I would never do it a second time. Just put it that way. But I did it the first time. So I love
And you're here. You're here and you're alive.
I'm still here telling you. I'm telling you, and you don't have to read about it in my obituary. But I can't say I would suggest you go do it too.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
Right? So I say the brave part because between reloading, sometimes it's necessary. Like, I mean, you were going to come home, so it's not like you did it. But creators, I think, have a little bit, just me, think there's a little bit of bravery in creation because you've got to kind of put yourself out there, so to speak. And I like the fact that, like, you start to lean into communications. So I'm always grateful I get to do that for a living myself. So I'm always grateful when I hear someone else who does it. And I would say to this, when did you know that other than guys that are texting you and aren't putting apostrophes, right?
Right.
When did you know it was needed, and what did you do to make it happen for you so that you could share with other people? How did it work?
I used to help my mother as a child, very young, with her investigative reports. She was a hospital administrator at the time, and I dictated every striking word for her. Back in the day, there were no computers or phones, so she had to write out every word I gave her, then take it into the office and get the secretary to type it up on the clack, clack. Remember that? Clack, clack.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Right?
So it feels like 1,000 years ago, but I absolutely remember. Yeah. She
had to take it into the typist. I mean, and I think back in that day, they probably even upgraded to the electronic typewriter, but it was still the typewriter. It wasn't a laptop or computer. That was non-existent.
I absolutely know what you mean.
Yeah. So I realized, because when she came back home, she used to say, it was so well received, and I dictated everything to the point everybody was coming to me for reference letters, write up this, fill out this form. And I never really, now that I'm talking about it, I never really took it as anything serious. I was just like, okay, you need something written, and probably they don't know how to do it. And I'm one of the more educated persons in my community where I grew up, a small community. And so I guess they came to me because they looked up to me, But as I went along, I realized, this is a skill. And when I went to Jamaica more so, I realized, hold on, I have this kind of a yearning to write. And that's when I became an author. I actually met in one of my jobs somebody who is actually a published children's author. And she actually won awards and all of that. So it was like if it was meant to be. When you actually yearn for something, the universe, God, whatever you want to call him or her,
right,
starts coming to you because of that yearning. And you don't have to say it out loud. It is just something internal that you just have a desire that just probably fleeting. It just passes through you. And everything just lines up. And so I ended up writing. I ended up even becoming a publisher, trained and all of that in publishing, and started offering the services. And everything just went from there. People
Right.
are just coming to me to help them write. When I do reports, people are looking at it. The presentations, I improve people's presentations. I say, no, you can't be presenting like that. No, that doesn't make sense. No. So I people were just coming to me for the help, and it just evolved into what I do, and ended up doing press releases, and then I tend to have a very strategic, process-minded type of approach, and look at things from all different angles, things that people are not thinking about. I come up with, and I guess that's the creative in me. That's the creative in me. Yeah.
Well, the strategic part also matters. Now, do I know correctly? And if I don't, please correct me. But you were a columnist in Jamaica, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
For the
So-
Jamaica Gleaner.
Right. So you were already writing in a structured fashion. That, I mean, like when like a creative person, I think one of the challenges can be, how do you fit creativity into structure? And before we get into your communication system, I think you've already done that, which is when you're a columnist, typically it's only so many words and it can be only so much this or that. So you have to be able to tell a story into a box, so to speak. So I would have to think there's structure with the way that you describe that you have strategy and that sort of thing. Was, as a creative person, was that difficult, or did that come naturally? The
Not
ability
at all.
to limit
As a matter of fact, As a matter of fact, two things come to mind. Like when you mentioned about being in a box, I remember being involved in Toastmasters. I don't know if you know about that.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And I was the public relations manager, and I had to train people in our district, which is a number of countries in the Caribbean. And one of the challenges I had was because we have a protocol, branding protocol, that guides us as to the colors, the font, where to place the font, what are we allowed to use, certain types of imagery, size, shape, everything. There is a policy and procedures manual that guides everything to keep everything in check.
Yep.
And a lot of the members were challenged, because they feel that if they produce a flyer, like say, for example, it would attract more people. But I was producing flyers and showing them, look at the kind of flyers that are being produced. Isn't this elegant? They loved it, and they wanted to know, Corine, send that to me. I said, but look at it. It is within the policy and protocol, the guidelines and everything. Why do you feel that if you splash this particular thing and throwing that it will suddenly attract? If you do something crisp, clean, you understand, within the protocol, you can create something that's polished and professional. And I'm saying all of that to answer your question too. When people are thinking about in a box, that is where the creative challenge comes, as opposed to you seeing it as a limitation. It's like that the glass half full and half empty. How are you looking at it is what will dictate your output. I never see being put in a box as a limitation. And what just popped into my head is when you look at those cooking shows.
Yes.
Where they don't know what's in the basket, they don't know what's in the basket, and they have to create. That's literally a box. They are given
a literal box.
A literal box. And there are things that some of them have never seen because they're coming from different backgrounds, different countries. When they open that box and they see that, they have to create a dish that is going to win them that whether it's chopped or whatever it is, they have to. So it is for you to open the box or work within the box and come up with something so beautiful that people are like, how did you do that?
Right. Within the box.
Within the box.
Right. One of the reasons I bring that up, and I love this part, which is why I want to now talk about your strategies and systems as it relates to others, is this. On our show, that it's all about a couple of things from a personal vantage point, the arc to authenticity. That how someone is able to bounce back, that matters to me. But what also matters is that there is rhythms and systems to communications to me. Like, I come from the sales part of the business world. and also the leadership part. But really, what I was known for mostly is from the sales part, which is this.
Right.
I bring it up solely for this reason, that I, for myself, learned, sometimes the easy way, sometimes the hard way, that you didn't have an infinite amount of time to communicate with someone. They were not going to give you the rest of their lives that you could just sit and talk until you were done. So it wasn't a matter just of that sense of being communicating to the point that somebody would want to do something. It was doing it within structures that somebody would not, in essence, like shut the television off the way they used to turn the television on, you know? And that's when I find, when I see people that happen to be writers, creators, it's like, and the columns part also fascinates me because, as you said, you have to work within some constraints, if nothing else than the respect of the other person's time, you know?
Yeah.
So as you have built, not are building, as have built this blueprint that you have created, multiple steps, multiple strategies. I understand now why that would matter. It makes sense to me, and how it would go. When you're speaking with other people, what have you found are some of the more common things or the more memorable things that people want to solve when they come to you?
Reaching their audience. They're not reaching their audience. That is a common challenge. Even I have it myself. So we're not, immune to it.
Perfect.
Right. No. And it's just testing. And there's no panacea for it. There's no, okay, you do this, you tinker with that, you do that, and it's going to, poof, everything is going to work. And I think we are too much of a fast food society. We want everything to happen right now, yesterday, last week. You're building relationships. It must take time. You suddenly just want this person to notice you amongst the millions of people. Just think of LinkedIn as an example. Look at the amount of people throwing content at you. I mean, one day I just sat down and looked back. I just sat back and I was like, what is happening here? Who expects to be heard amongst the noise? It's noise. Who expects to be heard amongst the noise?
Right.
And everybody's trying to suggest to you that thing that is going to make you stand, different from the noise, stand out from the noise. And then somebody else is doing it. And then you're trying something else again, and you're looking for somebody else to tell you another thing. So you are never, it's like the carrot. You keep running down the carrot, you could never catch it. Just be you. This is why I say about authenticity, just be you. If you don't want to post every day, don't post. If you feel to post when you're inspired, do that. Because that is what will resonate. It's amazing how things come to you when you really need it. It's the same thing for other people. You might be inspired to share something, and just in that moment, somebody's going through that same thing, and they needed to hear that. And you don't need to reach 1 million or 1,000. You just need to reach one. Why are you so fixated on how many followers, how many people like you, why? Why? Focus on the person that says to you, I thank you so much. I implemented what you said, or I heard you, and so on, and this really mattered to me. And just let it go. Don't attach to anything. Say, I'm so thankful that you did that. Don't attach. Let it go, and just keep doing what you're doing.
So here's what I would say. So that sense of, I always ask anyone who talks about authenticity, it sounds like a challenge. It's not. But often I find the biggest reason that people aren't just going to just do you is because they're terrified as to what if that's not good enough. How do you help them to get past that sense of, okay, like, remember you were talking about bungee jumping, right? Right. And it's like, you could say, hey, just go do it. And then I would say, yeah, but I'm terrified. I don't want to, I can't just go do it. I'll embarrass myself. How do you walk them past that hurdle? What do you? Because obviously they need to.
They need it. If it's something life and death, and you're putting yourself at risk, like you did, John, I am going to tell them, don't.
Well, I said I ain't doing it a second time. Sorry, that's terrible grammar. Don't brush me off your list because I said ain't.
Right? No, I'll be like, don't do it. Or it was good knowing you, shake your hand, hug you, give you the kiss. And I'll be
Best
like,
of luck.
honey, that's right. But I ain't sticking around for the end.
Right.
Right? But if you recognize, and you must recognize, and when I say you, I don't mean you, John, it's the audience we're talking to. If you recognize that you're having a challenge to do something, that is saying, that is your voice, your inner voice telling you, you need to look within yourself and sort that out. I cannot, I am not, as much as I would like to think, and I think I'm a miracle worker sometimes, God gives me those gifts. There are things that I really cannot do for some people. You have to work on yourself. You have to recognize what your fears are, where is it coming from? And I will tell you what I know for sure, John.
Yeah.
Your fears are not coming from you. You did not come into this world packed with all of these fears and decide at age 20, this one is going to come out at age 25. This one.
Right.
No, you did not come with all of that. Those things were placed on you and told to you with certain people along your lifespan. So you have to discern, where are these fears coming from? When did it start? You mightn't even remember when it started, but just know it started before you. And it's going to be there after you when you're gone. And the point about it is not of you. Fear is something that is learned. It's learned. And somebody came and said something, whispered in your ears, or just said that one thing to trigger. And if it triggered something, that means to say that trigger is actually a wound that you need to heal. It is, where is that trigger coming from? Why are you triggered? If somebody says something to you, why should it bother you? Why? That's the question we need to keep asking. Why is this bothering me? Why am I going home, or why am I upset about this? Why do I feel I want to tell the person something? Why?
I think that's a really interesting, like I said, dynamic, right?
Yeah, instead of coming at the person, you spend it. Why? When John said so and so to me, I am upset. Why? Why do I feel I need to defend myself? Why? Why, if I see a post on LinkedIn, I feel I need to respond to that? Why?
Sure. Right.
The post wasn't talking about me. Why? I don't even know the person who wrote the post. Why?
So
why is it triggering me when I see or hear? Why?
All right, here's my why question. Why is it that the people in Trinidad and Tobago are not as highly or tightly wound? Is it like, because as you said, they don't worry. We don't worry here. And then as soon as you started to describe that, all I started to do is like I feel myself getting like all tense. So you know what I mean? I wonder
why we don't worry. I don't know. That is just what I came and met. We are just party people.
There you go.
Listen. I'm going to give you. We had a coup. Some people, Muslims or whatever. That was. I mean, I'm not saying anything about Muslim people, but that
no.
That
I
was,
totally understand.
Yeah, they took over the country some years ago, right? And we could look that up on Google. I mean, I was younger and I was home, and we just saw them take over the news. You know, you're watching the news and all of a sudden you see a different face, a different person over the news. Right?
That never happened to me, and that had to have been terrifying.
Yeah, we are like, wait a minute, what's happening here? You know, what's happening here?
Right.
You're in your home, everybody's watching the news or whatever, home, comfortable. Next thing you know, you see a totally different. You're like, what is going on? So there was a coup, and there was shooting and stuff. Not where I am. I'm in South Trinidad, but that happened in North Trinidad, in the capital of the city, Port of Spain. And do you know what Trinidadians did? They put us on a curfew, right? The government put us on a curfew, obviously for our security.
Yeah.
So you had to be inside like about 6 o'clock, only the 6 p.m. Only the military people and those kind of persons, first responders, could have been out at that time. But what did we do? We threw parties. We threw.
I got to move there.
Right? What did we do?
We threw parties during the coup. See, there's something. Listen, I feel as if
curfew party. That's what it was, and they were all over.
Remember when I was asking about we're always brave, and I just speak for your whole country because I just find that magnificent. You know, that is, they said rather than this is for something that would be a real worry, not an imagined worry, a real worry. We threw parties, and then there are days that I have where there is nothing going wrong. And I just want to invent something awful in my mind. And so I love that sense of perspective. I really.
Why? But we
are
why?
Right back to the why question. Why? Right? Right?
Why?
It's such a good reminder.
Why? When you look at the same energy and time you take to concoct that, you could have mixed a pina colada and sit down and sip that. Think about it.
Right. But this is important because I'm a big believer in that.
Pina coladas?
Well, yeah. And also that we act as if a coup is coming, and most of the time it isn't. And I think it impacts decision making. I think it impacts potential. I think it impacts so many things so negatively. So I wanted to ask you, you've got, like I said again, as going through your bio and information and things like that, I found something. I loved the way that you describe it. And it was such a nice way that you say it, where you talk about you help people discover their true self and communicate better. Let's learn how. And you have 5 steps that you've laid out, right? And we can go through them, and I would just love to hear in ways if you could elaborate on them a little bit. It is not a quiz. I don't expect. I'm glad to read them out for you, but
please read them out because I can't remember.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not putting you on the spot. I just wanted to get
put me on the spot. Me on the spot. Let's go.
Like it's a 5-step process, and folks, I'm not kidding. If you were like looking at the 5 steps, this is like moves easily and looks highly effective. Like for instance, for the first step, discovering your strengths. Think about what makes you unique and what you are good at. And by sharing these thoughts, you'll share the thoughts and you'll explore how to use them in your personal and professional life.
Let me jump in there.
Yeah,
Let me jump in there.
Please.
Let me jump in there.
Yes, please.
I will come back to the example, and I put myself, I was vulnerable with you earlier. I said, don't come to me with numbers. It's not my strength. It's not that I can't figure them out, but I don't want to do it. I start to get a headache. I start to feel my shoulder. I just don't want to, you know. So that's not my strength. So, for example, when I see jobs or whatever it may be where I have to do numbers, obviously I'm going to subcontract that.
Right.
It's not, and it's not that I can't probably find a nice template and stuff, but I don't want to do it. I want to do the things that brings me joy. I want to do the things that pushes me in what I love doing. There are people who love doing numbers, but will never touch words. Hey, take this over from me.
Right.
Take the number. You understand what I'm saying?
I do, so and I love that.
I am being authentic. So when I put that out on my profile, I am not going to say, you know, there are some people, for example, if they're like, I can't tell anybody that I can't do a budget. I can't tell people that I don't know how to handle Excel. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Why?
Oh, I'm such a big believer in this. That's why I brought up, I'm such a big believer in I am better at tech than I used to be. And I was terrible at it before. And if I had to spend all day doing technical things, I'd go out of my mind. So you learn that there are very specific things that I feel good about doing. Everybody
can't be a doctor. Everybody can't be a lawyer. You could be the doctor's assistant. You could be the nurse.
Right. Not everybody can be a dancer. Not everybody can be an artist. Not everybody can be. But if you are, then that's
go for it.
Right.
Go
That's
for
why
it.
I like this.
And the strength, you talk about strengths and weaknesses and building up yourself and being authentic. There is strength in saying, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
People feel that when they say they don't know, it makes them look weak.
Mm-hmm.
And how would people think? But I don't want to know everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to do everything.
I don't think it should. That's my point of view now. I don't think it should. I don't think anybody should do everything unless they absolutely have
but
to.
Who can?
Nobody can. Nobody can. And they're not that good at it, you know? I love that sort of inward facing. And then your next step goes outward. And then your next step goes outward. And it gets very cool in that it's your understanding your audience, why, you know, who do you want to talk to, and figuring out who they are and what they care about.
Yeah. Well, hear what? You're not supposed to speak to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we feel that we're supposed to speak to everybody. Mm-hmm. When authors are writing a book, because like I mentioned, I'm a publisher, and I first question, who is your book for? Everybody. Nope.
Nope.
No, it's not. From the time they tell me that, I know, backtrack.
Right. Right.
That is
when you're editing. Point. This is when you put your editing hat on. That's the publisher, but
it is not. It is not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who is the profile of the person that should be reading this book? When you were writing it, when you were thinking it, you must have an idea of that person. Watch them, see them in front of you. What do they look like? Mm-hmm. Where do they hang out? Mm-hmm. Who are their friends? What do they like doing?
I love it.
It's not for everybody. So that's the first mistake. So we have to realize, even in our own company, John, I am not supposed to be talking to Tom, Dick, Harry, and Jane. No. They don't fit within the values, the standards, who I want to be around. They're not uplifting me. So I don't need to. And there's nothing wrong with not talking to people or not wanting to be in their space. Mm-hmm. Why do we feel
See?
Why do we feel that we have to be everything to everybody? Why?
How do you help people in the next step develop their message and help them demonstrate their true self?
That takes work.
I'll bet.
That takes, yeah.
Is that why they pay you the big bucks? Because honest to God, I as I said, that's an impressive thing to say. But it matters.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. It takes work and it takes time and it takes you being honest with you. Mm-hmm. It's honesty. It's actually watching yourself in the mirror and saying, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. This is who I want to be. You know, and it comes back from a programming, and it comes back again to what I was saying. Who you have become today is as a result of what your parents have said to you, church, school, teachers, and you have taken on, you have worn it like a cloak. But if you start undressing those layers like an onion and peeling them off, you realize, I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to be this way. How did you get your dressing style? How did you, where you go, what you eat? Do you really like that? Is that really you? Right. Start understanding the layers that build you up. Where is it coming from? What is the voice? When you say something or respond or react, is that really you, or is that the voice? And whose voice is it? It will be masked as your voice, because it's in you. But is it really you? Is it really you? It's not your voice, which is why we come back to the why. We have to understand the layers. Understand the layers. When I go out and I go dancing and things like that.
Yeah.
And I assess, I am always evaluating myself, who I dance with, how I dance. And this is why I love dancing. Let me tell you why I started dancing too. Not because I loved it. Well, naturally, I have rhythm in my bones. So I'm from the Caribbean, okay?
Congratulations. Nice.
Thank you so much. But you could learn it. You could learn it, John. Don't worry. You could learn it. If you did bungee jumping, you could do this.
There you go. That's fair. Fair.
Okay. But when I started doing Latin dance, I did it for therapy when I started dancing. You know why? Because I tended to be, I wouldn't say much of a controller, but I'm a leader and I tend to lead from the front.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dancing, you have to learn to let go. I did it to learn to let go too. When you're dancing with a man or a partner,
mm-hmm.
there is only two roles, the lead and the follow.
Okay.
The person who is leading is in control. The person who is following may know more than the leader, but you have to recognize this is the person leading. The man is leading. It doesn't matter what mistakes he makes. You don't correct him. You go with it. What we tend to do, and especially as women and with our husbands coming with personal relationships here.
Right.
Honey, don't take that route. I'm telling you so. Honey, this and that. Babes, what? No. You just keep going with whatever the man says. It doesn't matter where you end up, and support him either way. No, it's supposed to be a tag team. He's supposed to tag you. You're supposed to tag him because he recognized, hey, she's really good with direction. She's really good with talking to people, negotiating. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm handing this over to her. Mm-hmm. She would realize your strengths and she handed over to you. Mm-hmm. But dancing allows a flow. Because when you watch professional dancing, it's so effortless. It's like they're on
like they're not thinking. They're not thinking. You're not going.
You're not. Believe me, when I'm dancing, I am not thinking about the work I have to do. I need nothing. I am zoned in. I don't know. Something happens. I'm in a different world. Nothing exists, and you're not thinking about the steps. I'm not thinking about. I am just moving. And for that kind of effortless communication in dance is exactly what we need in the workplace and in our personal relationships at home, where you can move together like yin and yang with the other person.
That's a beautiful.
That's how it's supposed to be.
That's a beautiful way. I thank you for that explanation. I think it's awesome. I'm combining your last two steps because I think they both matter so much. You talk about practice speaking, practice makes perfect, practice, but making it fun and getting feedback. And I like to combine those two of your steps 4 and 5 because I feel like each one is as important as the other. Is not just practicing, but practicing with someone and getting feedback. So because it's I think one of the bigger problems with business is that people will practice, but they might practice alone in a mirror. They might be doing it silently to themselves or in the car. Or whatever on the train going to their sales appointment. And I think
it's a fear. It's a fear.
Important to
they don't want to be vulnerable. That's what it is. If they open themselves to anybody, they're open to criticism, but that's the only way you could grow.
Right.
But criticism must come in a healthy way, and feedback is important. That's why I love Toastmasters, so I'm giving them a plug of Toastmasters, because you are in front of people and they are evaluating you, giving you feedback to grow. You cannot edit yourself. And I say this from a publishing standpoint too.
Yeah.
When you write your book, you are never to self-edit. You cannot correct what you're into. When you're in the bottle, you cannot see. You understand? When you're in the situation, is somebody externally have to come in and say, no, this needs to cut out. You could improve here. We need more details here. And this is why authors have a difficult time with editors, because they are so close to the baby of the work that they have written. They don't want to let go of anything. And it's the same thing when you're speaking. I wrote this speech. I spent how much weeks preparing for this thing. And no, it's not targeting. You have to do it over. If you really want to resonate, if you really want to capture their attention, you have to do it in front of others who will want your best interest. And it comes back again to why. Why do you feel that other people don't have your interests at heart? Why do you feel other people don't want you to win? That is only if you do it by yourself, you are the only one. That's selfish. Come on.
It just is.
Let's go.
Other people don't hear your message. And the other part is that you can't get better You can't get better, and that's where
There's
it's
no
like
way.
I admire the fact you make it fun in the way that you even write this as well. Practice, and I'm literally quoting from your narrative. Practice practice makes perfect. We'll have fun exercise to make you more confident, and I think that's really important for people to know that feedback is not criticism and in the sense of criticizing. And I think it's so important that it's like if you're taking feedback as what it is, information,
And if you're taking it personally, you need to come back to that question: why?
Right.
Why am I upset by what the person is saying, as opposed to looking at the glass half full or even overflowing, that they have your interest at heart for it to be better? You see, what I find too much of is too many negativity, John. Too much negativity. The first place, just like how you say the coup, everything is like, ooh, the world is coming to an end, as opposed to mixing a pina colada. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Why your mind isn't going to, hey, I'm on the beach. Yeah. And, why your mind is, oh my God, it's Armageddon. It's got, no, stop with the woe is me. Your foot cannot be in the present and in the future at the same time. You are here now, focus on now. And stop predicting, stop trying to be in multiple places at the same time. Right now, I'm with John. Right now, I'm with John. And I'm having a wonderful time with John.
Right? Corine, I
don't care. My phone is off. I put it on airplane mode. Everything is shut down so I can spend quality time with John.
That goes back.
What happens next? I deal with it then. But right now, I'm with John.
Thank you for just all of that part. Corine, I acknowledge you so much, but before we break, I want you to talk to me about something, which is this. So I like the fact when somebody comes on my show, first off, and helps, and secondly, adds value, which you've already done. But you and I were talking about before that you've got an opportunity. You got God Almighty. You would so dismiss my text. You have created an ebook course, and one of those things that you talked about, I know that there's a very cool section and an offer that you're making, and I just want you to explain it. I saw the chapter, by the way, which I think is very cool in regard to toxic relationships, but tell me, what is it that you're offering? And of course, folks know that this link will be in the bio. Talk to me. Talk to us, please.
Awesome. So the book is about helping you to navigate toxic relationships. And it's made up of 100+ pages, 10 modules. It's in a book form. I call it an ebook course. So it has quizzes in there, and the answers are there too, but don't cheat. Answer the question. Answer the questions without looking at the answers. Okay. And it allows you to go through the book. It's a very easy read. You can sit down with it in one night and do it, but I'm not asking you to rush. I want you to take your time and meditate and think about how is it impacting and if you see yourself in it. But the first 5 modules, I think, is focusing on personal relationships. And then the other 5 is on work or workplace environment relationships. So it helps you to identify in each one of those situations how to identify toxic relationships and what you need to do to get out of it. If you want to get out of it, there are some people who love chaos, and so that environment is natural to them. But for the others, they may want something healthy and more exciting. But what is great about all my ebook courses, because once you go to that particular link, which John will share in the bio, in the description, once you go there, you will see other resources that I have, other ebook courses that I have. Scroll down on the page. It's like on Amazon. When you go to it, it also says suggested or recommended or something at the end when you look at a book. But each one of those ebook courses, I give a full chapter, which is 10+, how much? I can't remember how many pages. So you get a full snippet, a full chapter out of the book on something that you could take action on now. Okay? And that is for free. If you go to preview at the top of the link, you will be able to download that and you get a full chapter. The book is on sale. It's at $47 each. I mean, I keep it at a pretty reasonable price, I think, for what you're getting. But if you don't want to buy the book because you're not being forced to, I'm not try to encourage anybody to do that. You could download the chapter, but if you like what you see in the chapter and you're salivating for more, feel free to get the book. I think it's worth it. I'm telling you, it's worth it to get the book. Yeah?
Oh, yes, indeed. Corine, I'm salivating because you just make things a joy. And so I really respect you, acknowledge you, and I thank you so much for making everything feel easier and better. And I think there's a joy. It's more than a joy. There's a purpose to that. So I am honored that you showed up for me today. Now, we'll have your social media links. Corine and I have already been connecting, and we'll make certain folks, we'll make it easy for you. So you'll have the social media folks as you are watching, listening, enjoying. You see the links. Make certain to get to Corine LaFont. Corine, thanks so much for showing up for me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks for having me so that it would allow me to show up for you.
Oh, God. No wonder you're the communications. Hey, this is John Duffin here with Duffin Media. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Your Message Received. Keep liking, watching, sharing, subscribing, telling your friends, and keep coming back for more. Again, we will be back next time with another episode of Your Message Received. Have a great day, all. Talk soon. Bye.
And now, making its way across the finish line, Your Message Received has been a production of Duffin Media.